And we're live.
Woohoo!
Yay. Right on time. It's like 12:59. Um, this is me, Nancy Jean. You found us in the garden, and this is Danny Shay, who is in not my garden. He's in the garden, lovely state of California. It's the Golden State, not the Garden State. The Garden
Not the
State,
Garden State.
no.
The Garden State is
New Jersey.
New Jersey. I don't understand that, but that's
No,
okay.
well, you got to realize when they were naming states, it's a huge agricultural state. When you just get away from the edge of New York City, it's beautiful
Yep.
farmland and woods and stuff.
Okay. I just
So
think of
you think of
Jersey.
Newark,
No. Yeah, Newark.
Newark or Bayonne.
Yeah.
Anyway, what we're here to discuss is this sort of stuff, and I hope this comes out okay. We're going to talk about vibrations. That's how your body moves and thoughts and feelings and frequencies. And those are the two things that are changing so fast and making us all kind of feel crazy. And
Well, who's feeling crazy?
you were.
Yeah, I was.
That was the moon. But the moon last night, Danny got caught in the moon.
Woof.
And the moon, if you looked up at the sky last night and you could see it, we couldn't hear because it's been nasty and rainy, but um, the moon was sitting between. You could see Mars and you could see Jupiter. They're both very
Yeah.
bright right now, and with it being a full moon, it was bright, and it was really uh, it's very intense time emotionally, and
Yeah.
then this is going to fade because by the end of today, the moon will have moved into Gemini and be away from those planets. Mars is still in Gemini, but that's because it's retrograde and it's being there for every. Hi, Dr. Gail. Hi, Engla. Hi, Nancy Cast, Prince Charming's mom. And I'll call you out at the end of the show if you really like to hear your name said on YouTube.
I'll say it.
We
Hi,
got
RC.
hi, Danny. Wait, what we have is we're going to go through a timeline on this energetic shift and how it's accelerated because this is the second time Danny and I have looked at frequency and vibration and change. The first one was in October of 2021, right after we did the 8/8 Lionsgate, the 8th day of August, and that was a breakaway day. That's when the universe was sending us a message in 100 different ways that the lines were being drawn and we are going in different paths. And that was the one that Danny and I had the same vision about the same time. There was a stream of people walking along, and all of a sudden they hit a fork in the road, and one part went one way and one part went the other.
Yeah.
And the farther we get down our own trail, the less likely we are to be able to even reach and touch vibrationally the people that took the other trail.
Right. And it's interesting that we can find that message in so many um, different areas. Um, I was looking at the history of the Hopi and the prophecy rock that was talking about that, and it's just not one aspect. But if we open it up, it's like so many different messages are coming to us, and I think we have to get out of our analytical heads, and a lot of us are good at doing that, um, especially in this community. But there's so many signs that are leading us and showing us that we need to take the higher path, and this could be a little scary. Um, it feels like we're walking without a safety net.
We are. And one of the things that happened that Danny and I had discussed earlier was in late 2016, early 2017, scientists began to notice that there was a lot more subatomic particles and photons
Hmm.
hitting the planet, just really bombing it. And some of the first scientists who saw it were actually doctors treating cancer patients because they have a controlled amount of radiation that they put in people or however they're whatever they're using. And they were going in and looking at a cellular level, and they were seeing shifts and changes that shouldn't have been there. And it wasn't from their stuff. And they put out a 911 kind of to the rest of the community and said, hey, what's happening? And all of a sudden they realized that there'd been a cloud over us. And they know now it's a phenomena that geologists have been looking for, because every 12,000 years, apparently we roll out of that cloud and just get to where all the subatomic particles from all of outer space, and including our sun, can come and hit it. And what happens is they also hit the sun, and they crank the sun up, so it starts sending out more solar flares. It's not just us, not just our planet, it's the sun, it's our whole solar system. And the geologists had noticed there was this increased, they could tell in the stones. And that's how I found out about it, was studying rocks and stones for energy, that every 12 to 13,000 years, we roll into this place where all of a sudden we're getting bombed. And they couldn't figure out what had done it. And of course, 12,000, 13,000 years ago, there were people around, but they certainly weren't sitting around with the high levels of equipment we have now tracking this. But there were a lot of changes that were happening on the earth in that first 1,000 years after they rolled out of it, and for the next period of time. So they actually can go in the stones. They can see it 12,000 years ago, 24,000 years ago, 36,000 years ago, 48,000. I mean, just keep going back and you see this change. And this change, we now have equipment to track it. And of course, this all converges with earth energy lines and ley lines. And in monitoring those, they're finding out not only is it affecting them, but they're being made wider, the way they can measure them. Do not write me and say, how can I go find the one in my backyard? That's not what I do.
But wait a minute, let me delete that. Hang on. Okay.
That was your other question.
I was writing you.
I did find a ley line tree. I did find one covered with nodes, and I went up to it, and the energy off it was just nuts. But
can I add something to what you were just saying?
Yeah,
about
sure.
the instruments 13,000 years ago, because I was there in another life, 13, and I remember. Okay, sorry, squirrel. So, but in 13,000 years ago, even though there weren't instruments, there were shamans that were detecting this energy shift, and those if you looked at that shaman instrument and followed that shaman instrument, they would be telling you where the energy shifts and that the energy shifts were coming. So even though our basis of understanding today seems to come from the scientific community and instruments, I feel like we're really being pulled away from the instruments so much and trusting our own heart space and getting back into the feeling and the knowing of those energy shifts without external
Well, because it falls into, we're all heading into quantum mechanics, which Danny and I really won't discuss today, because neither of us can sit through an entire Dan Winter presentation without falling asleep. But what we're looking at is this. Okay. These are the frequencies. And if you look at them, the highest ones are 700 to 1,000. And if you've seen the grid that Danny and I created, that's for dowsing, the dowsing grid, which you can get in resources on my website. If you go to crystaldirections.com, there's a little folder called resources. You can get that, and it somewhat explains this, and it actually has a little chart like this on it. But where most of us were working before was, we worked with reason, we accepted things, we had willingness, and this is kind of totally neutral. Everything below neutral is our low vibrations, very heavy. That's what we call the 3D world. That when we talk about, there's humiliation, blame, disgust, regret, all that stuff. But as you get your vibration up, and what happens with these photons is they're feeding us higher vibrations. So if you're open to it and you're not afraid of that shift of energy, you can use that. for positive things. If you're afraid of it, you're going to go into hate and fear, blame, disgust,
Yeah.
despair, all that stuff. That is, as far as I'm concerned, not getting us anywhere. Um, so that's when we're talking about vibration, and like Danny said, it's the old shamans had the answers, and we lost them. The Native Americans, there's a long indigenous tale where they talk about what in my church we would call the fall from grace, but it was just that the people were pulled away from the energies that had satisfied them. And we've gotten pushed. We're getting pushed again into a time of real change, and so it's really good for us to get on here and say we're going to go on this roller coaster ride, and I think we should give you some words of warning on how to tighten your belt on so you stay in the car. And so what I did is I went through some. I keep a record. The Daily Ohm sends out a daily thoughts about different things, and I have hundreds of them. And they're really good about certain things, and you can kind of go through and say, "Oh yeah, that fits at this time," and yeah, I need to be reminded of that because I'm getting old and I need it written down. So,
well, the thing about that, and not you getting old and you need it written down. We all need to be reminded of things because we get caught up. We get caught up in our day, and things start pushing us, and they start triggering our egos, so that we start getting into fearful mode or some lower vibrational mode. And it's always good to get your little daily Om, or there's lots of meditations apps. There's a Shaman's Cave app that gives you a daily higher vibrational thought. And so when you just click on that and just take a break from whatever the 3D world is dragging us down a little bit to raise our vibration up. I mean, I think that we're all in need of that. And it's just not because we're getting old. It's like, I remember when I first got into, in my business career, I switched companies, and they had all these positive affirmations all over the wall. And it was, when I walked in there, it was like such a difference than the other company I worked for, where it was all this negativity. Oh, we're struggling. Oh, we can't make it. This is a horrible market, blah, blah, blah. And then you go into this other room, a building it's still the same energy, but there's a lot, there's reminders everywhere of how amazing we can be in this life. And that makes all the difference in a mindset.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to bounce a few of the ideas that I think we can use positively. So we're not in control of all the things that are going on around us, but we can control how we respond to it. And of course, there's the classic one of 6 deep breaths, and where you take in a deep breath and you hold it for 4 seconds and then you let it out slowly. Then you do that. If you do that 6 times, it actually changes your brain function. And this came out of UCLA years ago in a book. I read it in a book called Inner Size, and it was how to change your insides so that you can weather these storms without just being battered around in it. And there's some precautions we can take. And the first one I think is really important is letting go of small stuff. When we quit worrying about things we can't do anything about and go out and take a nice walk, if we get rid of a lot of times we'll use trivia to hide ourselves from what's really going on inside ourselves. So this is really pulling yourself and letting go of the little stuff. And once and you have to make a value judgment. You have to say, is this really important? Is this going to change my life today, tomorrow, even in 10 years. And Lord knows there's enough crap on the news that you don't
Oh,
want to. So,
and I was thinking about, because I am a kind of a techie news junkie,
mhm,
and it I've fallen into this habit of, oh, I got to find out what's going on. I don't really need to know what's going on that much.
mhm,
If anything, because I'm not in a position to actually physically make any kind of change in it. But we have to reprogram ourselves
mhm.
to get out of the negative habits that we're in. And it's just not a light switch. It takes repetition. It takes like 3 months to get out of a habit or to
Right.
change a new habit.
And one of the other things it says, when you let things go or when you start refining and dealing with life thoughtfully, you're going to miss your old habits. They're going to pop up like a bad blind date, you know? I mean, they're just there. And um it can be a habit, it can be an addiction, but it's like an old friend. We brought it in. We attracted it in because for some reason we needed it. And it's like trying to break an old friendship that you know isn't functioning for you anymore.
Hmm.
But one of the ways to do that is what you were just saying, Danny, map your own inner journey. You know, I don't need acknowledge the fact you don't need news 24/7.
Right.
It doesn't change that often. I'm so old I can remember when national news was half hour a day, you know.
Yeah.
And I was so much happier. And it's not just because I was a teenage kid running around mindlessly. I mean, we had presidents getting shot and stuff during that time. But the first 24-hour news I ever saw was when JFK was shot. And everything stopped and
Mm.
all of the coverage, and it should be because it was a huge moment for the country. But now they're trying to make every day a huge moment for the country. And I don't
It's
have the
not.
bandwidth for that. No, I can tell you what that looks like for us.
Uh-oh.
Um, how to raise your vibration frequency, live in gratitude and love, be of service, use forgiveness, meditate, eating high vibe food. And sometimes that can maybe look like junk food to other people, but if it makes you happy, go for it. Reduce and eliminate body toxins, high vibe entertainment, spend time in nature with and beauty, exercise, and high vibe relationships. Now, the thing about taking, oh, some scammer, go away. Um, not me. My phone was ringing. Scammer. Uh, if you go out into nature, one of the articles I had about mapping a new inner journey for yourself is to make sure if you take a phone, make sure it's tied only to music that soothes you and ties you more closely to nature. Don't take your phone and listen to an outraged liberal commentator or an outraged conservative commentator. Don't listen to any of them because they're just trying to sell products. You're trying to get like this. You're trying to get all the energy around you settled in and happy.
So I was watching, you had a great guy, Tim, on your
Mm-hmm.
show,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was fascinating. And watching some of his videos with Hamish, the dowser, his mentor,
Mm-hmm.
he went in and was I saw the show on dowsing for auras, and he
Mm-hmm.
went in and dowsed a tree aura,
Mm-hmm.
which I went, yeah, for me, I don't need a dowsing rod to feel that.
No.
But what he did, which I thought was so interesting. Now, I'm always saying, to make sure you ask for permission
Mm-hmm.
before you come into anybody's space, and including trees and rocks. But he went in and he put his forehead on the tree, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I mean, that just sent chills down me. That was so cool. And when we connect with nature that way,
Mm-hmm.
it and not just forehead to forehead, but just to connect with nature, we don't need any music, any
We don't
other
need
thing.
anything else. Mm-mm.
All right.
They were here with us. So these are I'm going to put up, I don't know if Juno's in the stream or not, but this is your hand. And your hand, you can heal yourself with your hand. And the first time I saw this, I thought, this is kind of crazy. But you put your hand up, and the thumbs worry, the index fingers fear, the middle finger's anger. So now we know why we wave that at people at certain times. The ring finger's sadness, and the small thing is efforting and trying the things you're trying to do. And what you do to open this up, and forgive me, Juno, I realize I'm getting over what you're talking about, but you grab that thumb and you hold it, until you can feel the pulse between your thumb and your hand becoming one. And it happens. It can take a few seconds. And when it does, then you've activated that, centering that energy. And you do it for each of the fingers. Then you go over to the other hand and grab it the same way. And it takes, a couple minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I do it sometimes in the morning when I wake up and I don't want to wake up. And I go, no, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to center my energy and get it back better. And this is, and trust me, there are many mornings I wake up where I feel despondent and fatigued. Oh God, it's another day.
So what is the thumb? Because I couldn't see it.
The thumb is worry.
Worry. So why do you put a wedding ring on the sadness finger?
Because
asking for
that's
a friend.
Okay. This is if you're in a state of despondency or fatigue. And this is functions you can use to get out of that.
Okay.
That does not mean that finger's always sadness.
Okay, got it.
That's why.
Yeah. So
it's also connected to your intuitive connections to people, your instinctual connections to them. So it, like I said, that's like a Dick and Jane reader against the dictionary, when you're thinking about words for it. But it's a quick fix that can really work. And there's several. If you ever follow the motivational doc, if you don't, I don't know how you don't. He's got like 500,000 followers, but he does really quick little things, and he has a lot of things. I found one that I can do right here that really brings my blood pressure down. I mean, he has some good acupressure ideas. So that's one of the things you can do. Breathe. We talked about 6 breaths. Apple cider vinegar. I don't bathe because I can't get out of the bathtub, but I shower and I can soak my feet in apple cider vinegar. It is an incredible detoxifier. And I'm not saying pour it in there straight. I'm like, put a quarter of a cup in and soak your feet in it.
I've been soaking my feet in applesauce. Have I been doing it wrong?
You've been doing it wrong, Danny. No wonder the ants follow you. Remember when you told me how ants follow you home?
They do.
And foods you eat. And I said, if you have a food you really, really like, you can, splurge and eat it. I mean, I've been on keto for a long time, but there are just days when I say, okay, I want hi, Ian, thank you. I just say, hey, I want a mashed potato. I mean, I want a potato. And usually I do a baked one because I can control all the other stuff around it. It's my Irish in me, guys. I just love that potato. And then just consciously turn out what's counterproductive.
Yeah. And so one of the things, going back to the hand, in the jiu-jitsu, however you pronounce that, there's always a thing from my childhood when I was growing up, and my dad would go, get a hold of yourself. All he would do is do this. And it'd be like, you're out of control. And it's usually fear. And so I keep remembering that when he would tell me, get a hold of yourself. I'm like, oh yeah. So I love that image. And I know that Juno, I'll just do a little plug over at Juno Sphere. She has all the stuff on her website regarding jiu-jitsu and hands and things. So Okay.
Yeah, and they really, really work. I mean, if you can't afford to go to an acupuncturist all the time, that can be very helpful. And then if you feel yourself, if you think you're getting ill, and especially this time of year, you can you can go online and you can find a lot of recipes that start with lemon
Mm-hmm.
and then putting ginger in it. And then some even put a little bit of shaved garlic in it, and they put peppers, and you make this warm drink and you strain all that stuff out and you drink it. And I drink hibiscus tea every day because it helps control my blood pressure. And my cardiologist has it on my chart that what I'm to do is to drink hibiscus tea every day because it was 90% as effective as the big pharma solution that made me gain weight when I was taking it. So
Yeah.
look for herb teas, look for things. Valerian tastes like crap, but put some lemon in it. Lemon will cover anything. But
Yeah.
that'll help settle you down. So look for some things like that. Do you have any health drinks or anything you like?
Besides scotch?
I thought you were going to say gin. You've gotten sophisticated on me. Okay.
Yes, I have. Yes. No, gin isn't that English? No,
Yeah.
anyway. Um, no, and I'm making a joke. I don't think that alcohol and drugs do anything except mask something. But
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's good just to relax and let go of something. However, the healthy stuff that I do drink is I drink a series of mushroom um, concoctions, and
Mm-hmm.
then my wife makes me this green drink. And for all I know, it could have rat poison in it, but I don't think it does because I'm still here. But it's full of all the stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So lemon, it has ginger, and she puts all this fresh stuff in it, garlic, and she
Mm-hmm.
masks it with something. And I I just drink it. At first, I had to hold my nose almost to drink it, but now
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's good. So it goes back to getting into a habit of something, and it's just the shift that we have to get over that hump of, oh, I don't like this, oh, I don't want to do that, and then we find out that actually we do miss it once we don't have it anymore. The
Right.
good stuff. The good stuff.
Yes. Well, good, because we're getting all kinds of suggestions. Ian suggesting beetroot juice.
Yeah.
The carbs are too high in that for me, Ian. I can't do it. But I love thieves oil, and I've heard about thieves oil before Prince Charming's mom, but I have no idea what's in it. So but everybody can find their own thing. You can look it up. There's a lot. Go on YouTube and just say drinks to help settle your nerves, and man, you'll find a ton of them.
And the thing about that though is, and in these times of shift, I keep hearing the word and it keeps coming up, discernment. We've got to make sure that it's right for us. And we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about dowsing. You can, when you get into your heart space, you can find your dowsing tool, whatever that will
Mm-hmm.
be, and see if that whatever drink or concoction you're making, whatever
Yeah,
ingredient you're putting in, is good for you.
right. You
So
can do that.
I would look into, when you look in YouTube and somebody says this supplement is good, i.e., Alex Jones. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. I don't know why I went there,
Well,
but
because he sells a lot of scammy
yeah.
stuff.
So you can go in there and see, well, what's the side effects? What are the benefits? What are the adverse
Mm-hmm.
reactions to it? So just don't look at one thing, but kind of take both sides of it. And then I would definitely douse and see if it's right for you
Yeah, you can do that.
internally.
And I put out a show on all different sorts of dowsing chart, and the company is called Subteal, and I'll make a banner for it so you can see it, how it's spelled. And they have a lot of, I think it's .co. Oh, I'm not going to put that. Add banner. Show. That's how you spell it. If you put it in, you'll find it. They have hundreds of dowsing charts. I mean, they have dowsing charts for which way you should walk your dog down the street. I'm not kidding. I mean, they've got hundreds of them. But they have all kinds of foods and herbs and things, and you can use that. And I found their charts, for the most part, are very good.
Yeah.
So, and then also another thing besides the vibrations of food that we eat is colors we surround ourselves with.
Huge.
And I know for Danny, blue's a big one. You love to go down and look at the ocean, although your ocean's kind of gray too, isn't it?
Depends on the day.
Yeah, but the colors we surrounded with, if green's a great color for you, pick something up that's green. If you like bright colors, then go with those. But color can make a huge difference for each and every one of us. And it kind of sort of tells the world where you are.
Yeah.
If, am I hiding? And unless black makes you feel very warm, whatever. But I kind of leave color to every person's personal taste because I don't know. I'm not great with color. Go see Medium Kim. She's great with color.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, in this time of change, we're going to be a little bit on a kind of hair trigger. So beware of emotional attacks.
Especially on this full moon. It was funny. We both watched the same YouTube guy where he said, just like, don't say anything in the next 36 hours.
Just go in the closet somewhere.
Go in the closet. And I was triggered so hard yesterday, and I was playing this loop in my head, and it was just this negative loop that wouldn't exit my head. And it was like, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'm talking to myself. I'm dealing with this tomorrow. You don't have to keep going over this. Because it's stupid. But anyway, it was, I just wanted to blow up, but I didn't. So good for me.
Well, then you fit the thing about emotional attacks. The conclusion on this is you can't control other people's emotions. You can only control your own.
Yeah.
So it's your choice. And if it means stepping back and don't feel like you have to be defensive about it or anything else, just the safest place for me is to step back.
Yeah. I mean, the famous saying is that you can choose to be happy or you can choose to be sad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's a choice. I'm going to choose that this isn't going to bother me.
Right. And when you get in those kinds of situations where you might feel it's an attack, this is what I always have to do. Am I making a judgment about this, or am I just going to let myself have my opinion? They can have their opinion. Because judgment, although it's a lovely card in the tarot, hard to understand, but a lovely card. What really is going on there is judgment says I have to be right and you have to be wrong.
Right.
And if we come at everything, that there leaves no discernment there. And so judgment is something to watch out for when you're dealing in this time of flux. And you're like, trust me, I want to jump up and look at the TV screen and go, how the hell could you say that? And that's not exactly the word I use. Hell, we don't want to be demonetized. And then if you get in that sort of situation and you're having to overuse your discernment, Danny, what do you do to get rid of anger if you feel like something's about to push you that direction?
Oh, yeah. It's so hard for me, but just stepping away, and as you said, going, taking a walk, just walking around the block, letting number one is, and it goes back to what you were saying with breathing, your breathing techniques, but just not responding to whatever that trigger was that got me angry. Taking a few steps away from it, probably more than a few, and revisiting it at another time. Certainly, someone, I think Kenyatta said, listening to music, but sometimes it's too hard to turn on the music and let that change me because I'm too wrapped up in my ego and what you said, judgment being right. So it's trying to just walk away from it and not address it at that time, address it at another time when the emotions aren't so high. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I can sort of calm myself down. I can deal with my stones. This Christmas holiday, I decided to go back to watercoloring, which I hadn't done since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I mean a kid, like 12 years old. And if you can see, I don't know how well people can see, but there's a picture hanging behind me that's right there. There. Yeah, okay. That's the only one of my pictures that I have, and it's a picture of a place in the Great Lakes that I used to go as a child. And I look at that and I'm going, I've had people look at it and they go, "You painted that when you were a kid?" And now I'm painting Christmas cards. You'll get one, Danny, probably in February, because you know how I am about things. But but what I'm doing is I'm relearning all the techniques, and that's been a very fascinating journey. And that goes straight into reactivating the sacral chakra, going back into your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And that uses up your anger because you're too busy being angry at the paint that it won't go, that you don't.
Yeah, yeah.
And kind of all this stuff we've been talking about, and this is when Danny and I started talking about this, is we wanted to talk about what's going on, making people aware, no, you're not alone. Yeah, it is kind of crazy out there. But when the world's in chaos, we can still have our own inner peace. It's only when we want to tie to the world's chaos, which is an easy thing for us to do, that we can get lost. So cultivating and trying right now, because I'm going to tell you, got a magic space between now. Today, the moon goes into Cancer, and until the solstice, which is the 21st, the universe is taking a sigh, and it's a time for us to start working on the things that that help us manage to balance ourselves. So we need to find our own inner clarity, and that's something Danny and I talk about, various ways of doing it. And the other thing is, part of our inner clarity is we don't all understand what's going on. There's a power in not knowing and just letting it go.
Yeah.
Do you have the experience when you read cards, sometimes you'll put out a layout and you'll go, what the hell is this? And then if you just read the cards one after the other,
yeah,
all of a sudden there comes, and I think that's one of the things I've learned from working with cards, working with stones, throwing crystals into the garden. I don't know, and this may give me a little glimpse
of what could be, and
right.
I do that all the time. I'll throw I'll put a spread out and I'll look at it and I'll go, I have no idea what's the message. And then if you read one card after another and read it almost at face value for me, and then it opens up and then there's the story in it. So sometimes you get the story just by looking, and other times you have to dig in and take it piece by piece. And this shift that we're going through with up until March, where I just feel like we're being cracked open. I think it's really important to be in that space where it's okay not knowing what's going on. Just being aware of it, and knowing that something is adjusting us in some ways, and be open to new possibilities in ways that it's not going to be measured on a machine. It's going to be measured internally and through us psychically. I mean, I think I'm so looking forward to this, to whatever it is. It's an exciting time to be walking on a tightrope without a net.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know what it's really made me have to do? Trust in my spiritual assistant. Trust in the universe giving me the assistance I need. Because when I admit, man, I don't know. You know, I'd rather have a reader tell me I can't see anything. I don't understand what your question is, whether it's because you're not communicating, however that happens, even if it's just people you deal with that are not readers. But, you know, just to say, when people ask me, well, how did you learn how to do that? I don't know. I just knew how to do that, you know, and I knew it worked. And I trust, and I have to trust my spirit. And remember, if there's two things you can do that can help you with trusting your spirits. One is calling the angels in, asking them for help, or asking whatever you rely on. Make sure you ask for their help, because I've always kind of heard angels can't come in and, I mean, that's not their job, is to straighten your life out. And so what they're there to do is to, if you ask for their help, and then you just have to quietly wait. And when they give you their help, don't say, but that's not how I wanted it to work. You ask for what would work, not what your best intelligence said would work.
And along those lines too, they're not going to move you.
Danny just froze.
You have to. I did. Am I frozen?
He's restocking himself up. Are you back? You're back.
I don't know.
You went away. You did a little spinny dial.
Well, I guess I shouldn't have said what I said, but so I'm so sorry. But they're not going to, what I was going to say is that your guides are not going to do the work for you. You have to still pick up and move your feet into the right direction. But they'll certainly be there in my experience for comfort and help and guidance. So, but yeah, you have to ask.
And you have to be grateful for whatever assistance and help we can get. Because I was trying to organize this so that Danny and I could talk about it. And I was like, it was like very strange. And finally I said, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. And I just went ahead and did what was in my brain. And I was happy with what I found. And then, there's one more freedom, folks, that you have in this time. You can say no. If people are coming up to you and they're wanting something and you can't produce it, you can have the freedom to say no. It is a time to rather, in your own way, contain your energy for yourself.
That's huge. It's so huge. Coming from the Midwest, I'm a people pleaser. So I'll say sorry when I shouldn't, and I'll say yes when I shouldn't. So it's okay, and I'm okay with the sorry when I shouldn't. I'm okay with that. But the yes when I shouldn't say it, when I'm overloaded, it's okay to say no. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I just don't want to. Maybe. So it's okay. Yeah.
I always book that one into, it's not in my self-interest to go ahead and do this. And right now it's time to take care of yourself and to grow yourself in this period of time. And also to look for the meanings in the synchronicities that are around you. That doesn't mean you cut everything off, but you look for the events and the different things that are popping up in your life that are going to make a difference for you. And if you change in positive ways, then it's good for everybody else.
And, yeah. Because they can't ride if you're changing in a positive way, and so you're going from a negative way to a positive. The people that are in that negative, they're feeding off that negative, and when you flip into the positive, however little or big it is, they can't help but be in that positive aura that you're now creating. So,
right. And this 'tis the season to remember you have a right to break out of your family cycles. And this 3 months are going to be times when um, you can do that, and to break away from. And for me, one of the hardest things is for me to take a self-healing day, a day when I don't cook for the kids I share the house with, and they're not kids, mind you, they're 30 and 40 years old. But it's time to go off by myself and get
yeah,
a massage or get an adjustment, or deal with those things, and as a self-care time.
that's huge. I don't
Mhm.
do that nearly enough, but it's it's huge.
Yeah, yeah, to take care of ourselves first. And like, I eat differently from my children, so I fill in with the foods that they want to have that I can't have, the higher carb foods. And the other day, I just said, y'all are on your own, because I make a really good salmon chowder kind of thing,
Yeah.
and which they wouldn't touch with a pole. But I have, they have their own taste, and
Yeah.
they should, because but I just made that salmon, and they said, well, what are we gonna have for dinner tomorrow night? I said, I know what you're eating, but I'm eating salmon again.
Yeah.
So
And I do that, there's different palettes in the house, and when I try to accommodate my wife's palate all the time, then I miss out on the good stuff that I like,
that
because
you like.
I do like a lot of fish, and I'm right there by the ocean, so I get it fresh. I don't have to have it shipped into to Dallas via Chicago, which I
Yeah.
think is kind of crazy. But yeah, so but it all works out.
Yes. And there's one last thought I have about how we can weather these times, and then we have a couple questions which are kind of interesting. uh Fill yourself up from the inside out. Fill your energy so that you can be there and do these things, and do it with a clear enough mind. And if you miss a day or you screw up, just say, that was my lesson on what I wasn't, how to do it better next time. But filling
So when you
yourself up from creating and expanding your own inner light is a simple way to help initiate your energy fields.
when you're talking about that, you're referring to all the things that we talked about: walking in nature,
Hmm.
music, positive attitudes, letting go of the anger, not dealing with it. Okay.
And giving yourself permission to not fall into the old plans you always had. It's like, this is the last paragraph on that one. By filling yourself with your own energy in a way, you're becoming fortified into your own power. You retain access to all your own intuitive and mental abilities, and you are able to act from a loving space for everyone. And
Yeah.
that's sort of Danny and I's quick fix, how to make it through the next 3 months. Oh, there is one thing, and I don't know if it's kind of mean to throw this in. It probably is, but when I was looking at the energy shifts, the first thing I ran into was December 21st, 2012. If you don't remember that date, that's the date when the Mayan calendar ended. Remember? 56,000 years, and everybody thought the world was going to end. I mean, that was really true.
And
And
computers were gonna like shut down, and
right,
wasn't that some kind of
that was Y2K. That was on 1999 to the year 2000, because
okay?
they didn't have 4 digits to hold the date.
Right.
I was running computers at the time. It was not a lot of fun. But
Well, thank
anyway,
you for fixing it,
yeah,
because there was no problems.
I worked for the airline, and people wouldn't know if their plane took off in 1901 or 2001. It was like a problem. Um, there's great change coming onto the earth. This was in 2012. The earth, it's a new earth rising. We need to prepare ourselves and our loved ones to move smoothly into the new world. Now think of everything that's happened since 2012. Now I'm telling you, it's build the best you can be, because whoever wrote this book, I mean, and I don't blame them because that's what everybody was saying at the time, but they were clueless.
Yeah.
Mother Earth is birthing herself into a new form, and we as humans are birthing ourselves into our own divinity. And what I'd like you to do is each birth yourself into your own divinity and hope the world goes more smoothly than it has in the last 10 years. But this is another thing to remember when you're talking about this. I asked the universe to keep all low frequency people away from me, and now I'm in a dark room with incense, sage, and crystals talking to myself. Trust me. I have felt that way. But we're going to go back and take questions because we have intelligent questions from intelligent people that are watching us. Thank you, Cold Toes.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the question. Is there a card or two we could pull on how to make it through the next 3 months? So do you have any around you, Danny?
No, wait a minute. Let me see if I can get Amazon to ship me some real quick.
Yeah, you're like me. It's like I clean them all off my desk, but I do have the wild elemental oracles, and I'm going to use these. They're wonderful.
Well, this is Ursi's question.
I know.
All right, I'm going to use two because I'm going to pull two cards.
Okay, I'm going to disappear for 1 second because my cards are farther away than Danny's.
Going into that dark room.
That's true.
By yourself.
I know.
All right. A card to pull that will guide us through the next 3 months. Stay in that dark room with your crystals and your cards.
That's and your sage.
I forgot the sage.
You forgot the sage.
All right.
And guys, if you would please like, and if you think this is interesting knowledge your friend should have, share it, please, because when you share it, then Danny and I've started emphasizing that. And I got 20 new members in the last week, so I need more. When I get to 4,000, I'm giving away a crystal gift. So, and you got to be a member to do that. Okay.
A member or subscriber?
No, a subscriber. I'm a subscriber. I'm not very good at this. Okay. So
I got something that fit exactly what that thing was that you said you light sage and you get into a dark room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the card that I pulled, and I'm pulling two just because I said I was. So the first card I got was the mole, and I'm using this deck is, hang on, I got to find the title of it. It's the Lakota Sweat Lodge deck.
Oh, cool.
And you can go and look in the book and see what it is, what this all talks about to get a better description of it. But what this mole does, and if I hold it up, you can see it. He's underground. He's in the dark. He's probably got some sage burning. And what this mole does, because he can't see, but he feels everything. So it's important that we don't look at external. What I'm getting with this is not look for external things to make us happy or sad or whatever, that we need to go within and stay kind of a little within our own cave so that we can feel this new shift. Maybe not get out into the open so much and say, hey, are you feeling this shift? Maybe it's more internal how we are describing what's going on with us. And then the other card I got is the breakthrough. So that is, we're going through a breakthrough. It's some people are going to sail through it and it's going to be really easy. Other people are going to be trying to hang on to their old ways and what was taught to them. I think it's going to be something totally, totally different than what we've been experienced in the past and what we've been taught.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. I've got the turtle. And it's a symbol of the earth, connection to the center, navigational tools, patience, self-boundaries. It's self-reliance and nonviolent defense. And turtles crawl into this life with the message, slow and steady wins the race. Do not feel you have to force or push the situation, nor should you take shortcuts or skip steps. Take your time, let everything unfold in its right time, relax and trust this process. Alternatively, she's telling you that the situation will unfold slow and steady. Don't rush it, stay grounded in the process. I couldn't have figured a better card than that one. And then
That
the
was
other
great.
one,
Well, and that goes with the mole too.
yeah,
Because the
when
mole,
you pulled out the mole, at first I thought, fuck, he got a turtle too. Excuse me.
yeah,
He got a turtle too.
there goes your monetization. Bam!
I
The
know.
window.
Okay, and then this is the other card I pulled for this time. Sensitivity is a gift.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times when you're sensitive and you're like, this really screwed my life up. You know, having to do
It hurts.
it hurts. And you know, people say, well, I want to do what you do. And you're going, no, you don't. And I have one more that I'm going to pull for the 3 months because I can't help myself. I have so many pretty cards and I never get to pull them because I do work with stones all the time. Whenever I get a new deck, my kids look at me like, rocks, we understand. Why do you get decks of things? Because they're short and quick, honest to God, guys. And we have one more question after this, Danny, and then
Okay, but I have to do, because it's Ursi, I have to pull one more card.
Okay, pull your card.
Because it's Ursi. And she would be like thinking something was missing in her day if she didn't get a Starman card.
Aha.
Oh, ooh. Maybe see, this is why I don't read these cards, Ursi. You got the 10 of Wands. And this particular deck, Starman deck, the artist was the artist for David Bowie's albums.
Oh, cool.
So they're very detailed. I mean, they're hard to read on camera.
It's kind, you have to kind of spend time.
So much going on. So in this 3-month time, as we had been talking about, there's going to be it's going to feel a little heavy, and that's okay. It's okay for it to feel heavy. There's a way to get up to this plateau up here, and we're going up there, but we've got to carry these wands. At least it's not, 10 of swords where the swords are stuck in your back. You just have this burden that we have to carry up to the top plateau. It's okay. We can do it.
Well, what I got for my last card, and it's the color deck, which I really love. Isn't that gorgeous? Turquoise.
Oh, yeah.
And it's awaken your empathy. Turquoise inspires. This is when we talked about colors and surrounding yourself with great colors. Turquoise is a great color. It's a great stone for creating your empathy and calming you down. It helps you communicate with your feelings, builds confidence in your abilities, connects you to your intuition, and awakens your empathy. Turquoise makes the ancient wisdom available to you and provides a sense of connection with your inner mastery. Hold something turquoise to awaken your empathy. And I think that's something we're going to have to do in this time because there's going to be stuff going on and we're going, really? And we just kind of, okay. The other comment that was a question, and he wrote 3 bright red question marks, so I'm doing it. Bemused Shaman. I thought that was Danny's title. Anyway,
no.
Is it a choice to have photons blasting me? How do I deal with the galactic clouds parting and the center core of the universe firing down on me? There aren't cosmic ray bands out there, are there? And no, and you don't want to stop it because it's changing us. I think in 150 to 200 years, we're going to be so telepathic that you don't want to skip this change. I
Right.
may not make it to the mountain when you do, chillins, but I think you don't want it to not happen. It's how the galaxy's unfolding.
Yeah.
And I actually heard someone that knows so much more about that galactic part than I do, but they were talking about the same wave that we ride around the sun. There's that washes energy over us. Our galaxy, our solar system gets washed up in it within the galaxy. Our galaxy gets washed up in it with all the other galaxies, and they actually are all timed. So they're all like one's 10 times what the other one is, one's 100 times what the other one is.
Right.
It's real interesting.
And the thing about what you said about the our language skills evolving so that we're not using words and vocal cords so much, but we're using telepathy. The bemused shamans, they speak to spirits telepathy wise.
Mhm.
Or see, I'm having a hard time with the words because I should be up here. So we're going back to that way of communicating where it's
Mhm.
not through words, but it's through, some people will say it's psychic ability. Some people will say it's intuition. Some people will say it's a niggle, whatever it is. That's the direction we're going.
Yeah, we're going to this, guys. We're going to this.
Yeah.
And we're going to be feeling the energy around us so much more than words can give us. I mean, they're just truths that you feel that are unspeakable. I mean, and it's not because they're horrible. It's just because we don't have the innate language inside of us to speak about it. And let me see, is there anybody else we need to thank?
But before, let me just throw a quick card on this because this is the shamanic oracle deck. So how do you deal with that? And the card that I got is listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's listen.
Right.
So we're switching the way we speak, the way we listen too.
Oh, Danny, do you have a feeling about this from your shaman stuff, or have you run across, is yours releasing built up stress with the volcanoes that are erupting?
That was interesting. I did a journey a couple of years ago, and I'd have to go back and look in my notes, where we actually went into a volcano. And if I remember right, it wasn't it wasn't angry, it wasn't stressy, it was just a release.
Mm-hmm.
So but I'll have to go back and look at it. I don't think that built up stress. I mean, obviously it's something is built up, heat, but I don't know if it's the earth releasing stress from all of our abuses to it. That's a good question, though. I don't feel like it is, but.
Well, I can tell you that they claim the photons that are hitting us hard are going into the iron core and they're activating it. And that's why our Schumann resonance started, our Earth's heartbeat started having AFib.
Yeah.
And that at some point the energy is going to build up so strong in the iron core it's going to ring like a bell, go gong. And that's one of the reasons why they want the ley lines and the earth energies as repaired and as straight and as valued as they can be. The ley lines in particular are supposed to be a big part of that. And let's see, we got one more. I'm gonna pull a card for you. This, I know, Carmela's a regular, guys. So.
May I have a card pull? Oh, okay.
Oh, next 3 months.
For the next 3 months, what deck should I use?
Oh, this is perfect for what we've been discussing. My high vibes will heal the world. So I think Carmela's making a lot of life changes right now, and I think you're moving in the right direction. That's what that card would say to me. I don't know what Danny's is going to say, but because it's not my card, right?
Mine's going to say, turn around, go back to where you were. Collect $200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mine is going to say, and I'm using the same Morning Sky Oracle deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the card that I got is Dance. Dance the
wonderful.
dream. Dance the dream awake.
Mm-hmm.
Dance. So what I get with this, I get the passion and the dark. So we can stay in the dark, or we can dance into the passion of it. And I would say, don't, let go of the fear of moving forward and just dance and get your dream to vibrate the right colors that you want it to.
Right. We're going back into the colors there.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for coming. And if you were moved by this or thought you get some good information, make sure you share that with other people, that like-minded folks that can use it, because we're all looking for our tribe at this time. And one more thing.
I want to thank everybody for being in here and sharing sight. Thank you so much for putting up links and things like that, and everybody who donated and everybody who just chatted. So thank you. Yeah,
and there's a lot of new names I don't recognize. They must have wandered over because they heard you were going to be here, Danny.
Oh.
But anyway, it's go into the holiday season, whatever part of it you celebrate. The Yule is on the solstice, and we start from there, accelerating into holidays. And the other things that I do is right now I'm having I only do this in December and January. I read 12 months. I read your whole 12 months for the coming year. And it highlights the months that are going to have the most importance in movement, and the ones where you can kind of lay low and rest. And I started doing it a long time ago, and I used to only do it on New Year's Eve. And then I started doing it these months. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my website, crystaldirectionswithans.com, and look at that. If you're interested in this dowsing grid that Danny and I created, that has the information about your personal power in the corner, you can douse your energy. And I found that very helpful when I was first trying to figure out where my vibrations were. And it's an interesting tool, and you can see how fast getting drawn into the mundane world can pull your energy down.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was doing that a little bit. And I was dowsing after I read the news and after I said my morning prayers, and the levels were like, it's just incredible how low it was after I read the news, and how high it was after I said my morning prayers. So
tying to spirit helps with all that. Someone wants to know if the moon releases more energy during the winter months. The moon doesn't release energy, it only reflects. So, I mean, that if you're in the real world, if you're in the spiritual world, I don't think the moon has a season. I think it does what it does, and it does it once every 28 days. So, okay. Well, we're going to go by, and Danny's going to go enjoy California, and I'm going to enjoy a soggy day in Texas. So y'all take care.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.